Hello, everybody. Welcome again to Kardec Radio uh, for the study of the Mediums book. So, I am Roberto Watanabe from São Paulo State Spiritist Federation, and today we are going to proceed with the study of the chapter 4 from the book's first part. And chapter 4 is about the title is Theories. Okay, so let's start. In this chapter, Kardec is talking to us. He's concerned, let's say, about how people were facing the spiritist phenomena at his time, uh, which was by the middle of the 19th century. And Spiritism had its explanation through Allan Kardec, the founder of Spiritism. But people face such phenomena in different ways, and Kardec describes here in this chapter how was people explain such phenomena, right? So that's why he started by saying that when the phenomena of Spiritism began to occur, they engendered doubt as to their reality and as to their cause. People have some difficulty to believe that such spiritist phenomena were real, and also what was the cause of such phenomena, considering that they accept, right, that they were real. And everyone, he says, had their own way of interpreting the phenomena according to their own personal ideas, beliefs, and prejudices. And because of that, many theories began to appear. And such theories that Kardec is going to describe, right in this chapter. And the problem is that because there were many theories, then the adversaries of Spiritism started to allege that the Spiritists were unable to agree with one another. Well, if each person has an explanation for the spirit phenomena, which is different from any other person, then this is a confusion, right? Nobody knows to explain exactly how such experiences occur. And such was the accusation of the Spiritism adversaries. But what Kardec explains is that the first steps of any developing science are necessary uncertain, right? Because in the beginning the scientists are still examining the issue. They are not certain about the theory, right? So, and that was the case of Spiritism. Although the Spiritist phenomena was not was nothing was not something that were new, right, at his time, because Spiritist phenomena is from all times, from everywhere, and by the mid of the 19th century, Kardec starts to uh, examine and investigate such phenomena, looking for a scientific approach. So, and then that's why he said that as facts become better observed, then unity of opinion is established, right? So he's going to present now the many explanations that people had at his time about the spirit phenomena, but of course he had already the interpretation of the spiritism, which of course he thought it was the correct one, right? So let's have a look then at these different theories. First, we have those, let's say, opponents that they classified among those who had negative theories. Why negative theories? Because, for example, regarding the physical effects, such adversaries of Spiritism, and they denied the reality of the phenomena. Right? That's why it's a negative theory. Physical effects we can understand, for example, reps, movement of objects, right? And so this is some types of physical effects. And then those that denied such phenomena had their theory. The first one is the charlatanism theory. So these adversaries, they attribute the physical effects simply to fraud. Right? This is just a fraud due to the fact, and that they said that some of them may be imitated. So if you have a phenomenon of a rap, for example, upon a table, for example, right? And then such kind of a phenomena can be imitated. So every since it can be imitated, you cannot be sure which is real, which is not. So they said, well, everything is fraud. Um, but then what Kardec explains that some of the phenomena of physics, the physics like science, right, the natural science, physics, also can be imitated by magicians. Right? And that doesn't mean that physics is not a real science. So that's Kardec's argument. Right? And the same is with the spiritism. And in addition to that, there are persons whose character dismisses any suspicion of a fraud. He, what he's saying here is that in some meetings, let's say, the people who were involved in such phenomena were serious people, right? So they could not be accused of fraud, right? So and this is the argument from Kardec to oppose this theory, right? Of course, he understands it's not a correct theory. Next one is the madness theory. So, well, adversaries which defended such a theory, they argumented that those who can come up with such uh, those who believe in such spirit phenomena, they are mad, right? So Kardec says that, well, this is an argument of those who cannot come up with no better reason, right? So then they say, well, they are those guys which deal with the spiritual phenomena, they are all mad, right? But then Kardec said that the most enlightened class of individuals at his time count as being by far the majority of the spiritism adherents. So how could such individuals who were scientists, for example, from his time, some scientists, some very scholars from his time, some people from the upper class, how could they be mad, right? By adhering to spiritism, doesn't make sense, right? So he just rejected such theory with this logical argument, right? Um, the most enlightened individuals accept spiritism. So those individuals cannot be mad, right? And then the next theory is the hallucination theory. So here, the guys who defended such idea, they attribute the phenomena to an illusion of the senses, right? So they said, well, when we see a table rising in the air, well, it's just an effect of illusion. Actually, the table did not raise from the ground to the air, right? So it was just a matter of an illusion. And then Kardec says, but how could they explain? Could they explain how people were able to walk underneath the table? Because the table is in the air, let's say 3 meters over the ground, right? And then people pass underneath the table. Well, how could that be if it's an illusion, right? So, and how, for example, some circumstances, that table, which was, let's say, 3 meters up in the air, suddenly it fell into the ground, right? So, and then as with the impact, the table broke. So, how can those guys explain that is an illusion, right? So, meaning that such a hallucination theory also does not make any sense, right? So until now, all of those theories doesn't make much sense. Uh, the last one of the negative theories was the crackling tendon theory. So if you hear, for example, a rap from a table, and then they would say that the phenomena results from the voluntary or involuntary contractions of the muscle tendon of the fibula. Right? So just a kind of a contraction of the muscle of the leg of someone, which caused this, uh, let's say, a sound which would be similar to a rap on the table, right? But then Kardec counter argument, right? He says, well, but how could such guys who defended this such a crackling tendon theory explain how a person who is at some distance from the table, let's say 2 meters from the table, can produce vibrations on the table that may be sensed by touch, meaning that, for example, of the person, that there is no one near the table. Everyone are at least 2 meters around the table. There is just one person. Well, everybody is a distance at 2 meters. Then you start to hear some raps on the table. Then someone goes there and put the hand on the table and feel the vibration of the rap, right? So how could that be a defect of a crackling tendon, right? Because it's something that is having a direct impact, in a physical impact upon the table. And also how the action of the tendon can extend to a table that is not being touched and at, touch it at all and make it move by itself. So here Kardec is referring to the moving table, right? So a table, let's say, moves from one place to the other, and there is nobody acting near the table. So how people can explain that a crackling on the muscle of the leg of someone could make a table move, right? So just also don't make any sense in such theory. Then uh, there were the theories of those who admitted the phenomenon. So these guys here do not deny the phenomenon, but they have their theory about the cause of a phenomenon, right? So and then we have the physical cause theory, and the guys who defended this theory, they used to say that the movement for the physical effect is caused by the movement. The movement is caused by magnetism, electricity, or some action of some kind of a fluid, right? So it's just that, nothing more than that. But then Kardec argumented, saying that the movement and the raps, in some cases, reveal the signs of intelligence, and that means that such raps obeyed a will and responded to thought, because uh, uh, through these raps, in the beginning, Kardec could dialogue with someone. And he asked a question, and let's say he asked the question. He said said, well, if you agree, just knock once, right? If you do not agree, just knock twice. And then, according to the question that he was presenting, the answer would come, right? Knocking one or knocking twice. So there was an intelligence behind those webs, right? So physical magnetism and electricity cannot explain a kind of a phenomenon. Next one is the reflection theory, and the guys here used to say that the intelligence of the medium or the participants of the meeting, uh, and at this around that phenomena, uh, they the intelligence of them reflected like light or sound waves. So, meaning that the, the the intelligence of the medium or the participants reflected uh, like light and caused such a phenomena, which is a little bit difficult to understand such a explanation, right? And then what Kardec says here, we could thinking, for example, about an intelligent effect phenomenon, right? For example, some dialogue with a spirit, for example, right? A discarnate spirit, and then Kardec was asking a question, then the spirit responded that question, and then people say, well, this is just a reflection of the thinking of the own medium or the people participating in that meeting, right? So what Kardec's argument is that the thought expressed uh, by the spirit might not only be foreign to the thought of the participants and of the medium, of course, also, but is often completely contrary to it. So, indicating that such answer, for example, to Kardec's question, could not be from any one of the participants, either medium or other participants. Is could just be could only be of a different person, right? Who in this case is the spirit, the discarnate person, right? So reflection theory also does not explain, right, the phenomenon. Then we have the collective soul theory. It says that the medium identifies itself with the souls of other persons, whether present or not, right, at the meeting, and then forming a collective whole. So Kardec doesn't worry much about counter argument to this theory. He just said that this theory represents more of an individual opinion of someone, and it has won few adherents. So meaning that is a wiki theory, right? Next one is sonambulism theory. So it says that all the intelligent communication, the dialogue, for example, that I mentioned between Kardec and the spirits, for example, they proceed from the soul of the medium itself, the kind of animism we say in spiritism, right? So if Kardec formulated a question, then the medium answer, it's not the answer was not of a discarnate spirit through the medium, but was just an answer from the medium himself, right? So this is sonambulism theory. And then Kardec says, but where does the inspiration come from when the medium writes while dealing with the other matters at the same time? And how can we understand here? Imagine the following situation, and it was something that happened at his time, right? Could happen today. There were some situation where the medium, while he was let's think about psychography, right? A writing medium. So while the medium was writing a message from the spirit, he was dialoguing with another colleague, talking, for example, about day-to-day issues. Right? So how could he talk with his colleague, incarnate colleague, at the same time that his hand was writing a message from the spirit? It's not possible to do that, right? So this means that sonambulism theory cannot explain such a kind of a phenomenon. Right? So then Kardec rejects such theory also. And then we have the theories of those who admit the intervention of an outside intelligence. Well, although now people is not saying that everything comes from the medium or from the participant. They accept that there is a third person, let's say, uh, beyond the medium and the participants that is intervening in the spirit's phenomena. But then we have this theory here, the demoniac theory, right? So it says that all the manifestations are the work of the devil, right? So Kardec said, well, affirming that the only evil spirits, which devil is an evil spirit, would communicate is the same as saying that the good spirits cannot, right? So, and that does not make any sense. Right? Then we have the optimistic theory. So it's the contrary, right? So they say that the spirit phenomena is a work is a work just from good spirits. Right? So then Kardec says confidence in the absolute superiority of the communicating beings has been a source of numerous deceptions because when we communicate with the spirits, sometimes a good spirit communicate with ourselves, but another times low order spirits communicate. And how you could explain, right? If we such optimistic theory when a low order spirit communicate, right? With a language that it could not be of a good spirit at all, right? So then we have this unit spirit or mono spirit theory. So those guys who defended these theories say that there is only one spirit that communicates with us, huh, humans, and that is the spirit of Christ. Right? So it's something similar to the previous theory, right? Well, if we say that the only Christ communicated with us, how can we explain again when low order spirit communicate and well they say only trivial things, right? So it would be impious, Kardec says, to suppose that they emanated from Christ, right? And then we have the last theory here, which is the multi-spirit or polyspirit theory. So this is the belief in the universality of a communicating spirit. So this theory here uh, uh, accept the idea that any spirit can communicate with us. And this is the correct theory, right? Which is aligned with spiritism. So Kardec goes through all this theory that he presents here just to go to end with the correct one, right? Which is the one defended by Spiritism. And then we have here also a theory about the nature of the soul. That is this material soul theory, right? So because we learn in Spiritism that we are spirit and reincarnate, we are spirit. We have this physical body, and as an intermediary body between the spirit and the physical body, we have the perispirit, or the spiritual body. And there is the material soul theory. Their opinion is that the soul and the perispirit are not distinct from each other, right? So, spirit and perispirit is one thing only, right? So, Kardec says this is not correct, since the perispirit is simply the fluidic envelope of the soul. Soul or spirit, spirit or soul are the same. Soul are the spirit incarnate. And as the perispirit is the fluidic envelope of the soul, it does not identify with the soul. Right? So there are distinct beings. Right? The soul is one thing, the perispirit is another, and then we have the physical body. So uh, here he just are dealing with this theory here. Then, having looked at all this theory, Kardec ended this chapter, finalized this chapter by well, giving here a summary. He said, let's look at the general results which we have arrived at by making a complete observation of the subject. Of course, a true complete observation, right, of the subject. And he said, well, spirit phenomena are produced by extracorporeal intelligence, that is, by spirits. Right? So it's not something that is a cracked tendon or a hallucination or a demon or things like that, right? Or only demons, right? And spirits, spirits here we must understand the discarnate beings, right? Which are ourselves after we pass away, we become spirits, right? And then after some time we reincarnate again and we take a new body and then we are incarnate again, right? As another person. And the spirits comprise the invisible world and they are everywhere, right? So the invisible world or the spiritual realm or the spiritual world, right? And and they are we are surrounded by them, right? They are everywhere. And another thing, the spirits continuously act both upon the physical and mental world, and they are one of the powers of nature. So acting upon physical mental worlds, the result of this is exactly the physical effects phenomena and the intellectual effects phenomena, which we are going to study in the second part of this medium's book. Okay, and also there are spirits of every degree of goodness and malice, of wisdom and ignorance. Right, so the universality of the spirits that communicate with us. They are subjected to the law of progress, right? And all may achieve perfection. Actually, all will achieve perfection, right? One day in the future. How fast or not they achieve such a goal depends on their free will. Uh, they are uh, they are happy or unhappy depending on the amount of good or evil they did during their lifetime, you with us, right? Where after we pass away and go to the spiritual realm, we will be happy or unhappy depending on the deeds that we did here, right? Good or bad, right? And spirits communicate through mediums who serve as their instruments or interpreters. So that is the main issue of this book, the medium's book. And the various degrees through which spirits pass comprise the spirit hierarchy, which we can see in the spirit's book, which was studied I think last year or 2 years ago, right? So in the question 100 of this spirit's book, you can see the all the spirit hierarchy, right? From impure to good spirits to pure spirits, right? And then the impure, that there is many classes, and the good also has 4 classes, and then you have the pure spirits, and that I believe you have already seen in another time. So that's with this we finalize the presentation of this chapter 4 regarding the theories. And then now, after seeing the 4 chapters of part 1 of the medium's book, next week we are going to proceeding with the second part of the medium's book, and then we are going into details about the physical and intellectual phenomena, right? Effects phenomena. So that's what I had for today. Thank you for being with me last week and this week, and I hope that you enjoy next classes with our colleagues, right, from Kardec Radio. So thank you and bye bye.